Have you ever stopped and truly asked yourself these questions? Who am I? And why am I here? Not casually, not as a passing thought, but deeply, sincerely, as if your life depended on the answer. Because the truth is, most people never ask these questions. And if you haven't, then you may still be asleep. Not physically, but consciously. Asleep to your true nature. Asleep to your purpose. Asleep to what you really are beyond the surface. But if you have asked these questions, if something inside you has begun to wonder, to search, to question everything you once believed, then you are at the beginning of something profound. Not just a phase, not just curiosity, but the beginning of a journey back home. Back to who you were before the world told you who to be, before labels, before conditioning, before identity. Back to that moment, your first breath, your first smile, that pure, untouched awareness. Because when a child is born, when a soul enters this realm, it comes in whole, complete. But almost immediately, something happens. The child is given a name, a religion, a nationality, a story. And slowly, layer by layer, a false identity is built. An identity shaped by society, culture, expectations, and fear. And over time, you begin to believe that this identity is who you are, but it isn't. None of it is. And yet, there comes a moment in life, a quiet, powerful moment, when something within you begins to stir. The soul begins to seek recognition. It begins to whisper, and those whispers sound like questions. Who am I? Why am I here? If this is happening to you, then this message is for you. Because this is not confusion, this is awakening. You have not forgotten who you are, and you have not lost your purpose. The soul never forgets. The problem is not forgetfulness. The problem is distraction. You were taught to look outward instead of inward. Think about it. Why do you think the education system was built the way it is? Why do you think religious systems and political systems exist in their current form? They train you to focus on the external world, to chase achievements, to follow rules, to seek validation, to believe that reality is something outside of you, something solid, something fixed. But what if that's not the full truth? What if what you call reality is only a projection, a reflection of the mind, a kind of holographic experience shaped by perception? Because the moment you begin to look within, everything starts to change. And that is what many systems are afraid of. Not you as a person, but you as an awakened being. Because when you begin to listen, truly listen to the whispers of your soul, you begin to step out of control. So instead, you were constantly fed distractions, endless noise, news, entertainment, social media, always something pulling your attention outward, keeping your mind busy. Because a busy mind is easy to control. But here's the deeper truth. We are living in a kind of mental construct, a reality that feeds on attention. Your thoughts create your emotions, and your emotions drive your experience. And the mind, operating under the law of duality, makes everything feel divided. Good and evil, rich and poor, happiness and sadness, pleasure and pain. Everyone wants one side, but rejects the other. Everyone wants happiness, but no one wants sadness. Everyone wants success, but fears failure. Everyone wants comfort, but avoids pain. But this is where the struggle begins, because the mind operates like a pendulum. To experience one side, you must also experience the other. You cannot have light without darkness. You cannot have joy without the possibility of sorrow. And so, humans remain trapped. Not because of some external force, not because of the devil, but because of misunderstanding. The devil is not an entity. It is a symbol, a representation of duality within the mind. Good versus evil, God versus devil. These are constructs, mental divisions. And when you are identified with the mind, you become trapped in these divisions. But the mind itself is not the enemy. In fact, it is a powerful instrument, beautiful, intelligent, creative. But when it is not understood, it becomes destructive. It creates fear, conflict, suffering. So the goal is not to destroy the mind. The goal is to understand it, to go beyond it, to bring it into stillness. Because the mind is the only thing standing between you and your true nature. Many people live their entire lives completely identified with their thoughts. They believe, I am my body, I am my mind, I am my story. And so they struggle endlessly, because the mind never stops. It keeps thinking, judging, comparing, reacting. Even for a moment of silence feels impossible. But the soul is stillness. It does not think because it already knows. It is awareness itself. And to reconnect with the soul, the mind must become quiet, not forced, not suppressed, but understood and transcended. So how do you bring the mind into stillness? You begin by dissolving the conflict within it. You begin by closing the gap between opposites, good and evil, rich and poor, happiness and sadness, pleasure and pain. Instead of choosing one and resisting the other, you allow both. You see both as part of the same whole, because they are not separate. They are two ends of the same spectrum. And when this realization deepens, something shifts. The inner struggle begins to fade. Resistance disappears. The mind begins to rest. And in that stillness, something powerful emerges. You stop forcing life. You stop trying to control everything. And instead, you allow life to flow through you, naturally, effortlessly. This is where alignment begins. This is where the soul begins to shine. Not as something separate from you, but as your true essence. And from this place, you begin to live differently, not driven by fear, not controlled by desire, but guided by awareness. You no longer chase identity because you are. You no longer seek validation because you are whole. You no longer live in extremes because you understand balance. This is what it means to live with purpose. Not a purpose defined by society, but a deeper, authentic expression of your being. A life where you are not trying to become something, but simply remembering what you already are. Beyond labels, beyond roles, beyond illusions. You are not rich, you are not poor. You are not your success, you are not your failure. You are something far beyond all of it. And when you realize this, you don't escape life. You finally begin to live it, fully, freely, as your true self. If this message resonated with you, don't let it end here. Because this isn't just something to hear once and move on from. This is something to sit with. Pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, are you living as who you truly are, or as who you were taught to be? If something inside you felt seen, questioned, or even uncomfortable while watching this, that matters. That's not random. That's the beginning of awareness. So take this seriously, but gently. Rewatch it, reflect on it, don't rush past it. And if you feel called, share your thoughts in the comments. What part of this spoke to you the most? Sometimes clarity begins the moment you put it into words. And if you want to continue this journey inward, subscribe. Not for content, but for reminders. Reminders to come back to yourself in a world that constantly pulls you away. You're not late, you're not lost. You're just becoming aware.